So now we have a kind of a general idea of the sculpting interface. I'm going to show you a recommended setting that you could use. I feel like it's nice to have a lot of screen real estate here, and that's really cool. But what we can do is we can go up to the corner, and I'm going to drag over. And then I don't need these tools. That's kind of redundant. So I'm going to go grab this. I'm going to make them smaller, and I'm actually going to collapse them. If I ever wanted them again, there's the little arrow that I could bring it back. But again, I'm going to collapse it. And you'll notice an arrow on this side, and that'll bring that up. I can also press N, and N will kind of hide that. Okay. Now I want to turn the image planes on, and what I want to do is I'm going to have this one be the front view. Okay. And I want to make sure that it's looking at it directly in the front. I also don't want these icons in the way, so I can click on that to turn off that. And for this, I'm going to go in here and turn off text and statistics. I also want this to be X-ray mode. And as far as the material, I'm going to go here. I'm going to switch this to like this red material. Now I can kind of see it over that. Okay. Now, I don't really get much benefit from these image planes in the 3D view because I'm going to be rotating around a lot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here and I'm going to click on empty. They're considered empties. So now you can see that I have this view that's free to rotate around, this view that's kind of like on the front view. And let's not forget that we have a side view as well. So I could kind of drag this over. I could press 3 on my numpad, and you can see that there it is. And I can give that exactly the space that it needs, this exactly the space that it needs. And now I have this area, right, to sculpt, and then this over here. Because you could see that if this was transparent, this would be annoying to sculpt on. So I feel like each one of these pertains to the particular view that you're in. So I've got these views set up with special modes for them, and then I'm going to have special modes for this one. And I could even have a different material if I wanted to. Okay, great. Now I think we're set up pretty good. I want to have my sculpt to be on the highest that it can be. Okay, so this is level 4. And if I divide it again, it would be 4 times that, 4 million. If the computer starts slowing down, it's probably not even worth it. But you got to kind of test your computer to see what kind of your limits are. Okay, now I'm going to go here and I'm going to go to clay strips. And I'm just going to kind of start sculpting on this guy. So to do that, I'm going to tap the space bar, make kind of a smaller brush. And I'm going to kind of determine kind of where the rib cage, where the pelvis is, and then I'm going to kind of sculpt muscles from that. Okay. Now, an easy way is I can just kind of make a mark here, and you can see that I'm making a mark there, and I'm going to also make a mark on the belly button. And I'm just kind of sectioning that off, and then I'm going to kind of go like this. Now, if I make a mark on one side, I want it to be on the other side. But if you recall, I had to get rid of our mirror modifier. If I left the mirror modifier on and put the multi-resolution on, it would have kind of confused it and screwed it up. So up here, they have a solution for mirroring. And I can just click on this X, and now whatever I do on one side is going to happen on the other side. So that's really cool. I don't even need the mirror modifier. I could turn this off at any time. If I do Y, I can see, or Z, let's see what that does. So Z is kind of like this. I mean, in this case, the only one that would really make sense is the X. Okay, so I'm going to leave it on X. Now I'm going to go ahead and find the clavicle as well. So I can make a mark there, and you can see that it's right on the clavicle. And now this is only going to be good 2-dimensionally, obviously. I've got to kind of understand it in a 3-dimensional sense. So I've got to kind of go like this. Obviously, having a good understanding of anatomy is going to be very helpful if you want to take this to a super complex level. And if not, or if you want to just kind of do stylized work too, I feel like these techniques should work for you. This is going to be obviously the sternum. You can see it can kind of go right there. And then as far as the ribs are concerned, I just kind of have to imagine where the rib cage would be. You might say, well, Dave, I'm not even going to see the ribs. In fact, maybe I'm not going to see any of the muscles, right? I feel like maybe he's going to have like armor on, things like that. I'm still going to do it this way because I feel like what's going to happen is that it's going to give me a clue to the form, and I'm going to call it a clue to its neighbors. And what do I mean by that? Well, if I know that these bones are correct, how I have them now, then when I add a muscle, if that muscle is connected to the bones and it's connected properly, then I know that the next muscle has a better chance of being correct because everything is relative to its neighbor. So I start with little chunks and then I kind of keep evolving it from there. So I can see that I have, again, the rib cage started, clavicle, the pelvis started, and now I think I might add this pec muscle, okay? And to do that, I'm going to look at this from the front, kind of visualize where this bone would be. And if you kind of understand anatomy, I can say that the pec is actually connected to this bone. It's going to kind of go up to the clavicle. It's going to connect to the clavicle, as we can see here. It's going to connect to the sternum, as we can see there. It's going to also connect to a little bit of the rib cage here. And then it's going to kind of, again, go over like that. And I could kind of, if I go over this, I'm just kind of doing kind of a spot check to see where that is, kind of cheating it, if you will. And now, okay, great, I've got a good start to that muscle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just make my brush a little bigger, and I'm going to kind of go like this, sweeping strokes that flesh out that form there. Okay, excellent. And this might look like, oh my gosh, this is going to take forever, but I feel like it's really not that bad. Yes, it does take a long time. As far as, I mean, maybe like 6 hours or so to really kind of do this with that explanation. But I feel like we're starting to kind of see this idea, this potential, and it'll start making sense as we evolve the process here. So again, I've got that pec, and this muscle here, this is the sternocleidomastoid. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, it connects to the, again, to the end of the clavicle, and I can see that it goes to the ear. So I'm going to go like this, come up like that. And again, I'm playing connect the dots because I feel like if I have the ear in the right place, I know the end point. If the clavicle's in the right place, I've got the other end point. And now again, I'm just playing connect the dots. It might not look good right in the beginning, but eventually, if you're just kind of patient with this process, everything's going to come together. The next thing I'm going to do is just kind of establish where the, kind of where the stomach muscles, and I can see that like this. And I'm going to try to avoid the temptation to do what I think things should be doing. I'm really going to try to focus on my reference. Okay, there we go. And now let's say for the cuts between the muscles there, I might need to do, I could hold down control, or I could hit the negative. I'm just going to go to draw sharp, and by default draw sharp is set to negative. I'm just going to kind of go like this. I'm going to make a line through it like this down the center. And then I'm going to go to the belly button. I'm going to kind of come straight across like this. And then I'm going to kind of split the difference here. I'm going to kind of go up like that, and then maybe one more like that. And now I've kind of got an established idea of where I want these kind of ab muscles. Go back to clay strips. And you'll also notice that when I'm doing this, I'm not like erasing, okay? I'm drawing really light with a light hand. And if I feel like a stroke is made incorrectly, I'm just redoing the stroke. I'm just kind of like drawing right over it to correct it. And the more confident that I get on these strokes, the more pressure that I'll kind of apply, and it'll kind of start to come together. So I feel like I just kind of need to trust that process, be patient with the process, and again, it's going to start really coming together as we evolve this process. But one thing that I want to show is that if I go back to layout, okay, I can see that our character is still this low poly, okay? And if I wanted to see it in this mode, I could go to my viewport and I could say, I want to see all the detail that we've been sculpting, and it will allow us to see it, okay? But what I want you to realize is that the character is never truly altering the geometry. So in other words, if we were going to bring this into a video game, the part that would be brought into a video game is the character at this density. But visually, by kind of a magic trick of textures of sorts, it's going to look as detailed as we sculpted here. So I just want to be clear about that we're not truly dividing it. We're doing a trick that allows us to temporarily truly divide it so we can sculpt on it. But at the end, we're going to take all this information and apply it to the low-res model. And but I just wanted to make you aware of that possibility. So again, in the next lesson, we'll continue this process of sculpting.